All good? Okay, and you can hit record. All right. Where to begin? So Staub, first of all, has been doing this for a long time. Hey, Chris, will you do me a favor? There's a Staub information card on top of the display over there. Will you bring that to me? Thank you. Hi everybody, Francois here from Homeport. Wanted to talk to you about a company called Staub, or Staub, if you like. And I really love this product. I have one of these at home. I used it just the other day, and a lot of people are cooking at home these days, so I kind of wanted to talk to you about this, what it is, what you might use it for, and some of the benefits and features that I like about this particular brand in general. This is what a lot of people would call a Dutch oven. It's something that you can use to do slow cooking. A lot of people might call it a crock pot as well. And a crock pot can be used for good, or it can be used for evil. My dad was not a particular fan of crock pot meals for a long time. But if you use it as a slow cooker in your oven, it works really well. And so I will tell you a little bit about these guys, and as a bonus, I'll kind of tell you a recipe that I use for it that makes a really delicious either pulled chicken or pulled pork. So why Staub? Why not Le Creuset or another company like that? Well, Staub has been making these since 1974. Yeah, 1974, and they are a really great quality cast iron Dutch oven. Each one is hand cast in France, and so they're all, they all sort of have that kind of handmade, unique charm about them. They are incredibly useful for a variety of different things. Like I mentioned, I do a pulled chicken or pulled pork. A lot of people bake in them. And the reason why people do that is because the cast iron, once you heat it up, has really great heat distribution. And these in particular I like because of a couple of reasons that sort of set them apart from like a Le Creuset. And one is this dimpling that they do on the top here. This dimpling is a self-baster. So essentially, when the steam from whatever you're cooking rises to the top, it collects on the little dimples here, and then will drip down on whatever you're cooking. And it also has these sort of this super tight lid. So not only does it trap the moisture inside, but it also drips down from the dimples there. And what does that mean? Well, it usually means that in a recipe that requires a lot of liquid, typically, you don't need as much. Like a lot of slow cooking recipes call for almost like 3 cups of liquid. With this, you can almost cut it in half, or certainly by a third. So the other thing that I like about it is you can see on the lid, but also inside, there is a black enamel, which browns meats really well. It's got a easy release on the enamel, and it also doesn't stain. So, like a lot of Dutch ovens like this, especially cast iron ones, have a white enamel on the inside, and if you cook tomatoes or something like that inside, it's going to stain. And it'll start to look weird, and there are ways you can take that off, but what I find is just the same thing is happening on the black enamel. You just can't see it after you've cleaned it, and so I like that about it as well. So this starts, I believe we have them in store, a few colors, including this one, for $179.99, and the reason for the cost is because they're so well made, and because they are really an heirloom quality piece. And to tell you exactly what I mean by that, this right here, this little gem right behind me, is a Staub pot that was given to my mother by my grandmother, who got it from her sister. So this is my grand aunt's Staub from, I believe, almost 50 years ago. And so, I mean, it's just the kind of thing that you can hand down to your kids. My mom says this still makes the best baked beans she's ever made, and she does them in this pot. So just a really great heirloom quality Dutch oven. There is it's kind of a not crazy wide, but a wide variety of colors that they come in, and sizes, like this sort of special edition tomato-shaped one. They're just really beautiful, well-made pieces. They all come now. This one was back when they were still doing plastic lids, but now they either come with a brass knob like this one or a nickel one like this one, which is something that some of its competitors don't do. They have the metal knobs, which I really like. And it's a really great company. I recommend you check it out. I'm going to put a link below in the comments to our Zwilling and Staub online store that they've created for us, which is something that they did recently, and it's really cool. Check it out. Thanks for listening. I almost forgot to give you the recipe. Okay, so let's get the ingredients up on the screen, just right on my face. Yep, that's good. Okay, so you're going to need about 5 pounds of chicken, a cup of chicken or beef stock, 2 beers, one for you and one for the brew, and then you're going to need about a 1/4 cup of your favorite rub. There's some barbecue rubs I like to use. Lately, I've been using a maple sort of pepper rub that's been pretty good. I'll put links in the below to some of the ones that I like. And so what you're going to do is you're going to prep it by turning your oven on to about 300 degrees. You're going to then put your stove on the burner, and you're going to heat it to about a medium high heat. And while that's heating up, you're going to trim the fat off of your chicken or pork butt. And then you're just going to cover it in rub, and you're just going to like sprinkle it all over the top. You're going to rub it into the meat, get it all coated and covered. If you're doing chicken breasts, you're going to want to then sear them in the stove that's been heating up. And you'll kind of, chicken breasts you can do 1 or 2 at a time. And then the pork butt, if you're doing that, you're just going to sear each side of it. Then once you're done searing, you're going to pour in the cup of chicken or beef stock. Then you're going to pour in probably a little over half of one of the beers, and then polish off the rest yourself. And then once all the liquid is poured in, you're going to stick that in the oven with the lid on and leave it there for about 3 hours-ish. After about 3 hours, you're going to pull it out. Open up the lid carefully because it's really hot, and then you're going to test it with a fork and just stick a fork into it and see if you can pry it apart a little bit. And if it falls apart easily, it's done. If it does not fall apart easily, put the lid back on and right back into the oven for like another hour. But it should fall apart after about 3 hours. And once you're cooked like that, you can let it sit on the countertop, take all the meat out, put it into a bowl, shred it with a couple of forks, and pull it all apart and get it all nice and stringy and delicious. And then you can use this in a bunch of different ways. You can put barbecue sauce on it, you could put wing sauce on it, you could use it in a quesadilla, you can put it in a burrito. Like, there's just a million different meals you can make with it. Super easy to do, not very time consuming. The prep on this is like 15 minutes. The longest part is cooking it in the oven. So you can do it real quick, put it in the oven, forget about it for three or 4 hours, and then have really, really tasty pulled pork or chicken ready to go. If you portion it out, you can put it in the freezer and it'll keep for about 2 to 3 weeks. So you can make a big batch of it and just use it slowly throughout the month. All right. Thanks for listening. Enjoy.